Today, humans proved their dominance in warfare as the blood-curdling screams of the RIS settlers echoed through the cold Martian night. A brutal alien onslaught commenced, igniting humanity's fury across the galaxy. Major Dylan C's eyes narrowed with determination upon receiving the distress call crackling through his comms. The remote RIS-5 outpost was under siege by the thraxed conglomerate, aiming to seize the planet's UNR veins. Forbidden from intervening, C assembled his covert strike team for a do-or-die mission, to smash through the blockade and save the helpless colonists. Humanity's mastery of war faced its ultimate test, with victory or defeat hanging by a thread. Dylan ran into the crumbled wall of the outpost, plasma burns still hot on the wreckage. "Now," he said, grabbing wires and gadgets from Lara's toolkit. Lara swiftly planted mines in the red dirt and hid energy nets between the rocks, ready to trap any invaders. Cooper checked his pulse rifle and nodded approval to the defenders as he led them to a choke point. Here, the swarming Thid would be forced into a bottleneck, unable to leverage their numbers. Watching the Thid advance, Dylan knew they underestimated human resilience. He signaled the snipers positioned on the jagged rocks. Despite being outnumbered, Dylan's team would fight with unmatched tenacity. The clash erupted with plasma and pulse fire, blinding and burning the Thid. The traps worked flawlessly, disrupting their ranks. Amidst the chaos, Aurora ducked into a control booth, crossing wires to activate dormant turrets. Their heavy blasts pushed back the invaders, forcing the thraxed to retreat, leaving their dead behind in the Martian dust. Dylan clenched his jaw, knowing they would return. In a moment of quiet, Dylan studied Thid battle tactics, analyzing their strategies. Cooper slipped away, hunting silently until he found a hidden node pulsing with alien chatter. "Got something," he whispered into his comm link, sharing his findings with Dylan. With a cunning plan in mind, they set a trap, using stealth and bait to fortify the outpost. Anticipation gleamed in Dylan's eyes under Mars's thin night sky as the hunters awaited their prey. The game was on. Humanity stood ready to play their part. Dylan's voice came through the comms, concise and firm. "Fall back to Rally Point Echo. Make it look convincing." Yara glanced at him, nodding before turning and sprinting away, not once looking back. One by one, Dylan's soldiers retreated from their positions, giving the appearance of defeat. The hulking thraxed forces roared, surging forward greedily for victory and the unguarded Unium. From the shadows, Dylan watched, holding the detonator in his hand, plain-looking yet capable of changing everything. His team had meticulously placed charges, every step calculated. As the first Thid reached the mine entrance, followed by more, the ground erupted in fire and shrapnel, ripping through the thraxed forces. Amidst the chaos, Dylan's team attacked, moving like ghosts through smoke and flames, their guns dealing death in short bursts. Era frantically built a signal array from RecTech, aligning dishes and setting the broadcast for Earth Command. Her voice remained steady as she sent a message for immediate support and reinforcements. They waited in tense silence for a response. Kneeling by a fallen soldier, Dylan closed his hand over the dog tags in a silent promise, then positioned the body strategically as bait for an ambush. With each human body becoming a deadly trap, the odds stacked against them seemed insurmountable. But fueled by defiance, they fought on, determined to teach a lesson etched in Martian stone. Humans are masters of war. A pod crashed onto Mars, its small, round shape contrasting with the expectations of a troop carrier. Dylan clenched his jaw, opening the hatch to find only metal crates and a blinking screen. Earth Command's voice played, refusing assistance. Dylan shut it off, discovering blueprints for the Tempest, a device designed to destroy machines with energy. Showing the blueprints to Cooper and Era, Dylan proposed building it themselves. With a supply depot for the Thid identified as the source of necessary parts, they ventured there at night, disguised in stolen thraxed suits. Passing guards with a stolen ID, they hacked the network to change patrols and slipped inside. Cooper gathered parts while Dylan kept watch, tension mounting as alarms flashed red upon their departure. The Thid's cries grew louder as more of them poured out, relentlessly chasing Dylan, Cooper, and Serena. Pushing their suits to the limit, they neared the outpost, driven by the hope of assembling the Tempest device to turn the tide. Dodging blasts in a ravine, they reached the gate, which slammed shut behind them, providing temporary safety. Exhausted but determined, they laid out the parts, knowing the device could either save or doom them. Dylan's hands remained steady as he wired the device together, blocking out the pounding of his heart. Serena worked alongside him, her fingers moving swiftly as she soldered each connection. With the clock ticking, urgency filled the room as they raced to finish, their grease-stained hands holding the key to survival or extinction. Outside, the sky teemed with alien ships, bombarding the surface with energy bombs. Dylan glanced out the window, recognizing what needed to be done. "We're activating it now," he declared, even as Aurora protested about incomplete calibrations. Yet they knew the device offered their only chance. As Dylan pressed the switch, invisible waves erupted outward, crippling the thraxed ships. However, victory was short-lived as the Outpost plunged into darkness, the Tempest device draining all power. In the dim light, Dylan and Serena exchanged looks before he barked a single word: "Rifles!" In a visceral clash, stranded Thid charged frenziedly, met with equal fury by the defenders. Pulse rifles cracked, bodies fell, and Dylan led the charge, adapting to the brutal necessities of close-quarters combat. Despite dwindling resources, they fought with fierce spirit, knowing help wouldn't arrive. After yet another skirmish, Dylan surveyed his battered team. Ammo and numbers were low, but their resolve remained unshaken. "Stay strong, hold this ground," he urged, his voice cutting through the chaos. And with the ferocity born of those intimately familiar with war, they did just that. But Dylan's mind raced. Bravery alone wouldn't save them. He needed a new plan, and fast. With the enemy outnumbering them, he'd have to outthink them. Grabbing the thraxed officer, he tightened his grip, dragging the squirming creature into the shadows. A plasma blade at the alien's throat elicited fear in its eyes. Thinking fast, Dylan devised a strategy. Take out the command, and the swarm would falter. Working the alien communicator, he issued commands, knowing that removing the head would cripple the body. The team listened intently as distant pulse fire echoed around them. "Heron, you're up," Dylan said, his expression grim. "I'll hammer their door. You end the general." Heron and the others left, cloaked in shadow. Era pointed out their path through the tunnels on her display. "This way," she whispered, leading them to the heart of Thid Command. Following Serena's path, Dylan's team spread out silently, their blades slicing down officers before screams shattered the air. The hub became a slaughterhouse as Thid frantically sought escape but met their end on human steel. Without commanders, the forces above were left mindless. Cooper's attack roared through enemy lines, but Dylan signaled retreat as elite Thrith enforcers ambushed them. Pinned down, with shots hitting his armor, Dylan sought escape until the attack halted. Confusion showed in the aliens' motions, allowing Dylan to rally them to safety inside the outpost's battered walls. As the enemy withdrew, Dylan grabbed a dropped communicator, hearing a clear transmission dubbing him the Ghost, the Phantom, a war specter striking fear in barracks. Grinning tightly, Dylan played eerie sounds over the thraxed radio channels, stirring up fear in the enemy camp. Aurora worked on the Tempest device, while Dylan rigged up sensors detecting its energy, laying them where the Thids walked. Traps reacted, yanking soldiers into unstable space, their friends watching helplessly. Cooper watched through his scope, noting their clever play but cautioning about the enemy catching on. Dylan nodded, understanding the need to stay unpredictable. Serena warned about the unpredictable side effects, hesitating as she patched up another anomaly generator. Dylan held her gaze, acknowledging the risks. "Serena, today, we've got the upper hand," Dylan declared, seizing the opportunity amidst chaos to launch hit-and-run attacks, ambushing sentries and looting supplies before defenses could respond. As morning dawned, rumors spread in whispers among the enemy, dubbing Dylan the Ghost of RES-5, turning him into a symbol of fear haunting their every step. Each raid, each night filled with phantom strikes, deepened humanity's resolve. Fueled by their wit, they transformed into something terrifyingly effective, defying the invaders. Bent over the communicator, Dylan tapped alien buttons, static filling his ears as he deciphered enemy chatter. "The fuel tanks are there for the taking," he murmured softly. Cooper leaned in, eyes fixed on the coordinates, while Aurora worked on boosting the Tempest's reach, each change bringing them closer to victory or defeat. Under the night sky, Cooper and Dylan crept towards the fuel tanks, laden with explosives. As they set charges and sync timers, Cooper kept watch for alien patrols. The moon hung low, the wind whispering through the canyons as they worked in silence. Aurora's hands remained steady as she adjusted the Tempest, her gaze meeting Dylan's in a shared promise. With the charges set, Dylan entered the final code. "Let's give them a show," he said, a faint smile crossing Cooper's face. Activating the phantom signal, they lured the enemy fleet into a trap. As alien ships swarmed the false signal, Dylan triggered the explosion, fuel exploding in fire and metal. The power magnified, crushing the alien ships as the ground shook beneath them. Despite their victory, the Tempest wailed its last, alarms flashing as the base lost power. With the rift widening greedily, Dylan yelled for them to move, sprinting through flaming debris as exhaustion battled their determination. Seizing the opening, they boarded a damaged alien ship, Aurora flying it by instinct as Dylan clasped Cooper's shoulder. "Let's go," he said, the engines roaring awake as they looked back at the chaos they had wrought. Humanity had struck hard, with the vast unknown of the stars ahead, the next battle awaiting them. With a tight grip on the controls, Dylan piloted the thraxed ship away from the RIS-5 ruins, their suits stained with sweat and the stink of gun blasts. Cooper stood over the crackling radio wires, tension thick in the air as a stern voice cut through the static. Earth Command's message was clear. Dylan had disobeyed orders, but his victory against the Fids at RIS-5 marked him as a war genius. He was given two choices: face court-martial or command a new force against the Fids with his tactics. Dylan weighed his options carefully, knowing court-martial meant dishonor while leading troops offered medals and strings attached. Glancing back at his crew, scarred but resolute warriors, Cooper broke the silence, urging Dylan to seize the opportunity with Earth's support behind them. Serena cautioned against playing Earth's game, warning of being used and discarded. Their eyes locked on Dylan, his decision impacting their future, the crew, the colonists, and the fallen Marines they had saved. The cabin fell quiet, save for the hum of alien engines, until the radio flickered to life with a distress call. Another colony in danger. Dylan's decision came swiftly. They wouldn't leave people to die. Serena nodded, fire in her eyes, urging them not to waste time. With coordinates punched in, engines roaring, they flew towards the plea for help, ready to beat the odds as masters of war. Arriving at the second farm colony, close to ruin but sparked with hope at Dylan's arrival, he directed Cooper and the militia, instilling courage in the settlers. Serena crafted a weapon from thraxed tech, turning it against its makers, confusing the thraxed front line. Dylan's team pressed forward, his voice steady over the radio, directing fighters with precision. The settlers, inspired by Dylan's tactics, took up arms and held their ground, united under his leadership. The legend of Dylan the Ghost grew across Earth, his refusal to surrender embedding itself in the military mindset. As command offered Dylan a new strike force, he eyed his team, seeing trust and respect. With the edge of a great turn before them, he accepted the command, knowing this was just the beginning of a larger fight. Together, they planned the endgame, a human tide fierce and relentless, carving humanity's name across space as masters of war, conquerors, legends.